Welcome to our video series, The Startup Journey. We all admire the success of a startup, but behind it lies a lot of hard work and sacrifices by the founder, especially if they are building for the Bharat segment or the low and moderate income segment. In this series, we will hear about founders' journey, their challenges and aspirations, and much more. All of these startups have been supported by Financial Inclusion Lab, an accelerator program incubated with CICO and supported by MicroSave Consulting. You can know more about these startups by clicking the link in the description below. Glad to be here with you. To begin, can you state your name and the name of your startup?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nishant, first of all. Great to be here, and thanks to the CIE and the MicroSave Consulting community for giving us an opportunity to talk and express our journey today. So my name is Chiranth Patil. I'm one of the co-founders of RiskCovry. RiskCovry is a insurtech infrastructure platform. So think what payment gateways enable brands to do in order to accept digital payments from the end consumers, except that we are for insurance distribution. So we are a one-stop shop that allows any insurance distribution use case for our customers. Our customers are usually large banks, brokers, fintechs, consumer internet platforms, and so on. So we are a one-stop shop which aggregates everything that they require for any insurance distribution use case, which is a combination of insurance product, the technology, and the compliance license all rolled into one offered platform as a service.
That's very interesting because what I've heard is even for large platforms, integrations with respective or individual insurance provider is not an easy job.
Yeah. It's absolutely true. In fact, it takes months for any large distributor to launch even a single insurance program with one insurance product from one insurer. Right. So what we are trying to do is standardize the entire play for any distributor to work with any insurer at scale for any insurance distribution use case. Right now, we work with about 44 out of the 58 insurers in India to whom we have built pipes into. And all of us is sandwiched and provided as a single API, as a single pipe to our distribution partners. So our distribution partners like banks and brokers and fintechs and home finance companies, NBFCs, consumer internet platforms, they can just work with RiskCovry, and RiskCovry does all the backward integrations across multiple insurers. So they don't have to go and write sort of multiple technology integrations into multiple insurers. They just connect with RiskCovry. RiskCovry does the heavy lifting to do all the back-end work.
So, Chiranth, I think there are multiple domains where your expertise would be required, or at least your team expertise would be required in order to solve for such a complex problem, right? Just curious to know, who are your co-founders?
Yeah.
And what capabilities they bring? And if you can also talk a little bit about yourself and your background before you started RiskCovry.
Sure. So you're absolutely right. InsurTech infrastructure is extremely complex. It requires a good blend of inside out and outside in. The inside out is coming from the industry, right? Understanding of insurance products, relationships with insurers, being able to do business development, product creation, channel management, activation, very domain specific compliance. That's a big part of our sort of go to market. So we fortunate to have like amazingly diverse team, all with a singular mission to solve for insurance penetration. The inside out part of our team are Suvindu and Saurabh. They're based out of Mumbai. So the insure part of our insurtech happens out of Mumbai, while the tech is the strategy and the growth kind of happens out of Bangalore. So that is sort of how we are split. From in terms of the outside in part, clearly I'm someone who doesn't understand the industry. I have the luxury of asking very silly questions to my co-founders in terms of why and why nots. So that's the outside in part of our DNA, which understands the aspect of bringing technology and data and hyperscale that in terms of a venture growth perspective. So Vidya, Asif and I are based out of Bangalore. They are the leadership team based out of Bangalore, and sort of and the five of us pretty much constitute the leadership of the company. And as far as my background, I've essentially been a generalist at heart. Started off doing a little bit of business analysis and product management at a large financial services company called Fidelity Investments out of Boston. Then did strategy consulting with Deloitte out of Boston as well. Turned entrepreneur, went through the ups and downs of starting the first venture, second venture, so on and so forth. Fortunately landed on this idea with a great team And it's been sort of 5 years. I think we have incorporated in February 2018. So it's been a little over 5 years, and it's been a great journey so far. And I really think we're just getting started.
That sounds very amazing. But if you can very briefly talk about why this problem,
Yeah.
what triggered you? Is it the team which came together and then you realized that this is the problem to solve for?
Yeah.
Or you sort of navigated the problem and then built the team?
Right. So all of us came from slightly different perspective. For someone like Saurabh and Suvendu, who come from the industry, obviously leaping into InsurTech, is a natural evolution of getting into the entrepreneurial journey. They were already running a startup, an advisory startup called Infinity Business Partners, which basically was doing what RiskCovry does now, minus tech and data. That is basically connecting the dots between large-scale insurance distributors and insurance manufacturers, insurance companies. So the natural evolution for them to be in this particular space in InsurTech, if you will. For Vidya, Asif and I, we came in definitely from the outside, and for us it was being very curious about why insurance as a financial services product is not really mass distributed. It's not mass available. Penetration levels are low in India. Large sort of protection gap. India is now the most populous country in the world, but sort of we are literally 50% of the global median in terms of insurance penetration rate. So the question became why, right? And how can we kind of solve for this? And our view was that you can solve for this in a couple of ways. One, you become very clearly, we did not want to become another insurance company, right? We thought there are enough great insurance companies, but what plagues them is really distribution, right? Because insurance is a push-based service. Nobody wants insurance, but everybody needs it, right? So, and it's a very low gratification product, right? So even after you buy it, insurance is unfortunately the product that, even if you buy it, you don't want to use it, right? Because if you're using it, that means some adverse event has happened, right? Like an accident, or sort of you're in the hospital, or whatever it is, right? It covers a risk of an adjacent risk. It covers an adjacent risk. So that became very curious, right? So if you are not going to become an insurance company, you didn't want to become a distributor, say a Policy Bazaar, how can we kind of take insurance to the point of trust? So our aha moment in terms of our thesis was when we realized that there is a market for insurance to be distributed, and we don't have to acquire the end users ourselves. Right. Let's take insurance to the point of trust. And the trust was where large businesses like banks and brokers and fintechs and all these lenders and all, they have a huge basis of large consumer bases, right? So, and they want to distribute insurance. So why can't we the payment gateway but for insurance distribution, to use the analogy that I was mentioning earlier? That one-stop shop that aggregates everything that is required as a platform as a service solution to distribute to solve for any insurance distribution use case. So like I said, we work with multiple dozens and dozens of insurers. We have more than 125 products out of the box. And literally today, according to our proprietary sort of research, can power about 70% of insurance API universe of India. And it's taken some time for us to do that. Infrastructure is it looks very sort of flat until it is not, and hits a hockey stick when you build critical mass. So that's the point where we are at in terms of our evolution as a company. So from very humble roots of just trying to solve for insurance penetration to where we are right now, it's been a great journey, and like I said, we're just getting started.
So Chiranth, I want to shift the focus from, say, discovery to you.
Okay.
And you mentioned that this is not, of course, your first startup, you have done it before, right? So
nothing that came close to this though. All failing startups.
But when did you realize, or when this reality dawned on you that you are meant to be an entrepreneur? And what was that point?
Yeah. The point was when I thought that you're working, I mean, this is as cliche as it sounds, working very hard for other employers. What if I just worked equally hard, if not more, on an idea that I wouldn't mind spending the rest of my life on? So that happened maybe just about when I was about to hit 30 or so in terms of my age, and I've had a few years of experience under the belt, some on the financial services side, /product management side, and then sort of strategy consulting side, and then I had given a good enough generalist view, right? So I had a lot of generalist skills as against any specific deep skills. And I thought, I was passionate about sort of, technology meeting financial services, or technology meeting commerce, or all three together, right? So I was exploring ideas in those sort of spaces. And that journey, like I said, went through a bunch of ups and downs, and here we are.
Interesting. But I'm pretty sure that, as you mentioned, there are ups and downs.
Yeah.
Right? Has it impacted your personal life? And what would be those moments where did you this had an impact on your personal?
In a bad way or a good way?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure. Like, it's not for the faint-hearted, for sure. It is an extremely lonely journey when you're starting off. So hence, having a great co-founding team is very important. It has. I feel as a person, I've grown. As It has helped me become a better sort of co-founder, better employee, better leader, if I can say so, a better father, a better sort of husband. Because I think what happens in entrepreneurship is you start valuing the small things in life, and that is something that is invaluable, and it impacts your sort of overall being as well. Because mostly co-founders, their identity becomes the startup or the company, right? They're working. So, and there is no work-life balance, right? It's just work-life integration, as they say. You're working all the time, but at the same time, you can take off whenever you like. So it's that degree of freedom, at the same time, that huge responsibility to get it right as well. So I'm sure that affects different people in different ways. For me, extremely positively, feel very grateful to be given this opportunity to build a great idea that I'm passionate about. Don't mind spending the rest of my life doing this, along with a great team that doesn't think of anything else either. So that's something very humbling about that. At the same time, personally, very I care about the startup ecosystem. Have tried to kind of help in my own little way. Different founders at different stages of their sort of company building journeys, and also invest in certain sectors and startups as well. So being able to do that operator role, and during weekends to kind of listen to some pitch decks and sort of hopefully participate in some amazing startup journeys, that is immensely satisfying from a professional perspective, which I carry on into the personal side. So yeah, it's overall impacted me extremely positively.
I heard in your sentences you mentioned amazing team at least 10 times.
Okay.
So how did you build that, and what was the process about it?
Yeah.
Especially in this startup, sitting in Bangalore, where hiring and retention of the quality talent pool is never easy, right? How did you manage that?
Now, really, sort of, it's been a learning of sorts, and a lot of it comes from sort of, I would say, personal credibility to start off with, where the initial core team comes along. Different sort of founders attack it different way, but for us, a lot of it was drawing comfort from people that we had known, interacted with. Obviously, we have scaled since then, and we've kind of outgrown those days, but the initial days was all about sort of working closely with people that we had known and trusted as part of our professional operating roles in the past. Having said that, you're absolutely right. Talent acquisition and talent retention are perhaps areas that I spend a fair amount of time to date, right? So we have seen sort of the entire space mature. If you ask a few, some amazing founders who have scaled their companies to much bigger levels than we have, I'm sure you'll get sort of nuanced views. But our view is that in terms of talent acquisition and retention, startup game is talent game, if you ask me, right? And that also has seen some cycles. Like 2021 was extremely cumbersome to hire good talent, and sort of we had just completed our Series A investment round then, and sort of we had the money, and sort of what should have splurged to acquire talent? No, we never did that, right? So we have been sort of very prudent in terms of acquiring the right level of talent for the growth stage of the company. Having said that, talent is also a function of the culture that you build. And someone very wise once told me that values happen top down, culture happens bottoms up.
Right.
So it's the founders' values coming in to kind of say that this is how we are going to solve a problem, and this is going to be our journey, and this is how a day in life looks like, and people kind of grow around it, right? So I would say having a great talent acquisition game and retention game is important. Figure out your right strategy, how to do that, build a great culture, and sort of nobody complains. So all the problems happen when sort of you're not meeting your goals, right? So that's we require the top execution team led by the right kind of executives and founders leading the right functions. So having that role person fit is very important. We've done a lot of mistakes along the way as well, but these are the few things that come to my mind in terms of how to kind of solve for that talent problem.
You also mentioned about you're passionate about this whole startup ecosystem, right? And I'm sure that over the last 4-5 years, this has gone from say X to 10X or maybe 100X, right? But there are many accelerator programs which are around. You have been part of Financial Inclusion Lab.
Yeah.
What has been your experience?
In the FI Lab, specifically? Oh, it's a very positive experience. So what happened was, if I'm not wrong, this was we entered the FI Lab in 2019, sort of that calendar year, and we were just about pivoting, right? As they say in the startup world, you're either growing, you're shutting down, or pivoting. So we were pivoting after the first year, and because the earlier idea didn't work, right? And sort of that early idea gave us insight in terms of what the market really needed. And while we were pivoting is when we entered the FI Lab. And what the team there helped us to sort of devise was a product market fit strategy, right? That got sharper during the lab. That is sort of value add number one, if you will. Value add number two was because it's a great program which has sort of startups on one end and sort of advisory mentors and sort of a little bit of a grant pool as well, along with a corporate back end to it. MSc brings a lot of those enterprise connections along with sort of that deep advisory work as well. We started getting exposed to a bunch of enterprises, and that's when we realized that, hey, what we had built has value. It's just that instead of going direct to customers in B2C, the value was in going B2B2C, right? So that's when sort of the pivot happened in terms of our go-to-market. Instead of becoming a distribution brand ourselves, we became a technology platform that can enable any distribution brand. Right, so that kind of journey happened during the FI Lab. Also, the third value add is really visibility. When you're starting off, really nobody knows you. So the founder's credibility is really the startup's credibility, but really the startup is so much more than the founder, right? So so for us, that initial validation and visibility helped in terms of growth, and eventually graduating out of the FI Lab and working closely with the CIE team, we sort of struck a chord with the fund team, the Bharat Fund team, right. On the inclusion seed side, and one thing led to another, and they ended up leading our seed round. So we feel like we have sort of come a full circle with that entire team and hold every team member as well as the value that we have seen from that very dear to heart.
Okay. So Chiranth, in your entrepreneur journey, I'm pretty sure RiskCovry has given you a kind of growth which other ventures have not. But in your entrepreneurship journey, what are your key lessons in terms of building a successful startup?
First of all, I don't know if we are successful. We are on the journey to become that, but by no means are we successful just yet. Just scratching the surface, if I may kind of add that disclaimer. In terms of journey learnings, right? Really, a lot of it is really the team. Even if sort of people are evaluating a startup, there are 4 fundamental levers, right? It's the team, the product, the market, and the traction, Right. So it really starts with the team having a great idea, building it out as a quick MVP, testing it out. Minimal viable product, testing it out by pushing it out in the market, seeing market reactions, and then quickly iterating as fast as you can.
Right.
That works. That is usual startup mantra, if you will. But two segues to that, right? One is in our space we are heavily regulated, so it's not like we can sort of code a beautiful sort of something, digital journeys, and if it takes out with consumers, it just takes out. It is extremely compliance heavy, so there is a lot of nuances. And the way to think about compliance is really to startups typically tend to push the regulatory boundaries, right? And sort of innovation slightly then sort of leads regulation, which ought to be the case to move the industry forward. So being on top of regulations and domain is very important. That was learning. The other learning is that we are building overall. We didn't set out trying to build for insurtech infrastructure, but post pivot, that's what we have been doing for the last 4 years, and where we have seen a product market fit and growing fastest in our space. There, the learning was that you can't go very deep very early. So if you want to go to and take a solution to banks, right, and you have just a few handful of insurance products, you get laughed out of the room, right? So you need to go breadth first and then deep. So that is why infrastructure looks as a business model requires a little bit of operational expenses to keep funding it until it starts hitting that hockey stick curve, right, which we are seeing right now. Right. So that is the learning in terms of anyone building for financial infra. Think about how that breadth first works in their own sort of business models. And finally, I would say India, in terms of Indian enterprise market, especially B2B, it's a very price sensitive market. So how do you navigate those things? Most customers, if you ask, they want the best product for free yesterday, right? But that is not sustainable, right? And everybody knows it, but sort of that is the mental makeup when we kind of come to work with sort of other companies. And to be able to navigate those pricing models is very important very early in your journey, especially if you're building something that is quite innovative for that space. These are the top learnings, but sort of completely from a venture perspective, but sort of, I'm sure, I probably can sort of spend the entire day talking about learnings because we have failed so many times and got up equally number of times and running at the same time.
No, I'm glad that you talked about those failures, especially in the early days. Can you just circle back and say what kept you motivated during those days?
Yeah, I just didn't want to go into a corporate world anymore, man. I think it came down to that. If I can be brutally honest, but there is that innate sense of satisfaction when you think of something, we build something, you take it to market, and customers react to it. That is you're wired to, and you get wired to kind of do that. That kind of happened to me, and then sort of just didn't want to kind of let go of that. And fortunately, we are here and sort of trying to innovate in a space that hasn't been for years, and with technology, and that by itself is very gratifying. But like I said, we're just getting started and we're just scratching the surface. Right. In fact, if I can say so, we have just figured out what surface to scratch, if I can use that analogy.
Right. So, no, that's a very apt way to say, especially because India is so much underpenetrated in terms of the insurance product.
Yeah.
Last word. What will you tell a budding entrepreneur who wants to start in this sector, in this segment, right?
In InsurTech?
Not InsurTech per se, but solving for Bharat segment.
Bharat segment, yeah.
Okay. What would be your 2 cents of advice?
So impact is a $1 billion word in India, right? We are a developing economy, most populous country in the world, but a fair bit of our markets are sort of a demography, and population lives at poverty line or below. So what is impact is sort of a moving thing in India, right? What I'm trying to, so the real market, if you want to make a money is really in the top of the pyramid, right, in India. But if your goal is impact, then you need to keep going sort of, to the base of the pyramid as well, and kind of do that really well. And so my biggest learning is that, just don't keep throwing around things like impact and whatnot for the sake of it. Be really passionate about solving for that segment. If you're not, then you're better off solving for the top 5%, 10%, or whatever sort of that entire thing is. So there is the iSpirit sort of nomenclature, right? Sort of India 1, 2, and 3. The thesis of why India 1 or 2 or 3 or all of it or none of it needs to be extremely clear, right? So I think a great entrepreneur once mentioned that 80% of the battle won in startup is good planning, right? There is that one notion which says that assume that you are dumb, build what you think that you like or what the market likes, push it out very quickly and rapidly iterate. That fail fast kind of a model. But I don't think in regulated spaces, especially when you bring impact in regulated space, it works that way, right? You need to be thoughtful, you need to see it from 360 degrees. So the most successful fintech and other founders who thrive in regulated markets I've seen are who think about their entire company and company building in 360 degrees as against in silos.
Right.
So I guess that is my one feedback, but again, a lot of learnings of having failed enough times to that, you can keep going.
Right. No, I so completely agree with you, because even if you fail fast,
Yeah.
you have lost 1 or 2 years. It's better to go with a better planning,
Right.
instead of motto that, okay, I will fail fast and pivot.
Yeah.
That should not be the first goal.
Yeah,
right?
especially not in regulated
Regulated
spaces. Yeah.
True. Chiranth, it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure that this discussion will help many budding entrepreneurs who want to take a jump in this sector. And thanks again for coming here and giving your time.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate the time. Thank
Thanks.
you.